Good to go.
We're good to go. Okay. Do you mind highlighting me for a moment? Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Claire Brilio. For those of you who don't know me, I'm the Communications and Business Disruption Resource Director for the Economic Development Collaborative. We host the Small Business Development Center for Ventura and Santa Barbara County, and we serve now approximately 2,000 clients, 2,000 businesses each year with free business consulting services and webinars and resources like the one that you are attending today. We are joined by Juliana Ramirez, and I'm going to introduce her in a moment. We had over about 200 people register for this webinar, so thank you for attending. And for those of you who are not familiar, you are muted. You do not have access to your video. If you have technical questions, please enter them into the chat feature. And we're joined by Visionality on the back end. Thank you to Emily and her team, who are phenomenal at conducting webinars and helping us with back-end support. If you have questions, you can enter them into the Q&A feature at the bottom of your screen. And we will get to questions somewhere around probably the 35-40 minute mark, I'm guessing, but Juliana will be presenting today. Just a little bit of tough love here for a moment, just because we have to clarify a number of things. First of all, I want to thank you. You know, this has almost been a year of doing webinars, walking with you all through CARES Act, through COVID disruption. My heart goes out to every single business owner on here today and those seeking assistance. We have so many loans, so many products to talk about, grants. It seems like they're falling from the sky right now. So it is a great opportunity to be your own self-advocate, and I believe that's why you're here today. You will all get a recording of this webinar, so if you're not able to make through the whole thing, don't worry, you will get a recording of it. But I want to clarify one thing, and we're going to be talking about this throughout the webinar. When you register for a webinar with the EDC, SBDC, it does not automatically make you a client. So when we suggest to call our office and schedule an appointment with an advisor, you will have to go through a quick 2 to 3 minute conversation with an intake specialist to connect you with an advisor at the appropriate time per their schedule. So it's not an immediate connection. You may be able to get immediate answers over the phone. That does happen often, but we want to encourage you to sign up as a client because you have lifetime access to these types of resources, webinars, your business advisor in any area of business need. We're talking about specific loans and grants and opportunities through CARES Act. However, we look at businesses holistically, and we know that if they need by chance a loan, that they may also need marketing assistance, or you're getting that loan for some reason, right? Or you may need to expand your business, or may look into hiring people, or just trying to get by. All of those things we can assist you with, and it's at no cost to you. So I want to really impress that upon you today. The other thing is that we will not be talking about vaccines in this webinar. Specifically, if you're an employer and you have questions regarding vaccines and how HR law applies to that, we won't be talking about it in this webinar. But don't worry, we have another legal update coming soon, and we'll be talking about all of those issues in that webinar. So save your questions around vaccines for that. And lastly, before I hand it off to Juliana, we will be taking a poll again, like we did last time, just trying to get an assessment of where you all are coming from. And we're very grateful that you're here. We want to walk with you through this process. We want to answer as many questions as we can. So pay attention to that poll. I'm going to say it's mandatory. Please do it. So with that introduction, I'm going to pass it off to Juliana. She is one of our strongest EDC, SBDC advisors, financial advisors. Everyone loves her. She's amazing. She speaks English and Spanish and is able to help you with essentially any need under the sun as it regards to finances, So thank you, Juliana, for joining us, and I will pass it off to you.
Great. Thank you, Claire. Um, Can you guys hear me? Yes. Thank you, Claire, and thank you everyone for being here. I mainly want to make sure that everybody understands today that our intention today is to answer as many questions as we can for you. There's really not many big updates from last week, but we wanted to make this space to answer as many of your questions. So please remember to put those in the Q&A. My slide, my having a little bit of technical difficulty here. Okay, right. Once again, I want to remind everybody about what's available in federal, state, local, and and unemployment. Uh, I'm going to give you a California Relief Grant update for those of you who are anxious to know what's going on with your application. If you haven't heard anything, we'll cover a little bit more on that. Paycheck Protection Program, if you have any questions related to that, either on the first draw, second draw, modified first draw, or the loan forgiveness, please feel free to enter those questions in the Q&A as well. Employer payroll tax deferral. Again, we've already talked about this information, and it's just to remind you what's available. If you are joining us for the first time, then I'm glad you're here to learn more about these programs. Um, on the California Relief Grant, the applications for round two opened on February 2nd at 8 a.m. and will close on February 8th by 6 p.m. This grant is not a first come, first serve, and the applications are open now at careliefgrant.com. You may apply only once and with one partner only, and we'll go into that in a little bit, over into that in a little bit. And the important dates to remember for second round is that again, the application opened on the 2nd of February. It's going to close on the 8th of February, and the selections for this round or notifications for this round will be going out from February 11th to the 18th. And the notifications will be sent out on a rolling basis. For general, as the general information is the round one selections were approximately 237.5 million, and round two will be the same. The applicants were determined based on an algorithm utilizing the priorities of the program. Completing an application does not guarantee funding, even if you meet all of the requirements. You know, we have mentioned that there's not enough funding for everyone, so it'll be based on priorities. The way that for round one, the selections, they were categorized as either as one of the following. Either you were selected, and if you were selected, that meant that you met the program's minimum requirements and were selected for pre-approval of funding. Being selected does not guarantee funding, and selected applicants must go through further verification before being approved for funding. That means if you completed the application, you uploaded all your documents, you were told that you were selected, then that still means that they're going through every single one of your documents and verifying that they are all they're all verifiable. That means that let's say your driver's license was, it's not expired, that your business license also is not expired. And if it is, then, provide them with information as to when you will be receiving, your other license and such. This is what that verification process looks like. So if you've been told that you're selected and you're waiting to hear, when you will be getting the money, just be patient, because you're in that process of verification. If you've uploaded again all of your documents and you're just waiting, then that also means that you probably are pending connecting your bank. And if you have already done so, then it's just a matter of waiting on when they're going to get to your application. As far as approved for funding, the other stage, once you are selected, this means that you've been fully validated and you have been sent a grantee agreement via DocuSign, and the grantee agreement must be signed for funds to be released. So if you have received that and have not signed it, then that means that's probably why you haven't received funds either. And applicant transfer funds started being disbursed on January 22nd and will be disbursed over a 40-day period. So we are asking to please be patient. Again, they're going through that verification process. Once all of that is being verified, then they are going to, get to the next stage, which is fund you. If you've been told that you've been waitlisted, this means that you do not need to reapply, that you just need to make sure that all your documents have been uploaded in proper form. And if you've been told, you're waitlisted, and you may get occasional emails telling you, to please go back and ensure that everything is completed. I just got an email for telling me that there was something pending on my application. So that's something that you can probably receive. So make sure that you are, if you have been told that you're waitlisted and you get an email telling you, something's pending, then to go in and verify that you've taken care of that. If you were not selected, you were you and you have not been notified, that means that you probably are not eligible. Again, sorry, if you were not selected, and you've been notified, um, that means that you're not eligible for round two, and that's very important to you for you to know. So reapplying does not mean that you would be, selected. There must be a reason that you were not, selected. um, for round one, just more information. Applicants who submitted their application and submitted all documentation in the first round do not need to reapply. Cannot express that enough. Qualified applications for eligible businesses have been rolled over into the next funding round for consideration. Applicants who did not complete their application in round one but are eligible will also be rolled over into the next funding round. However, unfinished applications must be completed and documents must be uploaded to be considered. So do not reapply. So again, if you already received your username and password, then that means you just go back and make sure that everything in there is completed. If you did not receive a selection, you will be automatically moved into round two. And if you have not received a username and password from round one, please reapply. One of the issues that if you have not heard from Lendistry, that means it's probably because you applied through one partner and then you then apply through another partner. So if there are multiple tries for through different partners, this is where you're going through the compliance and verification process before they can get to your file. So if you use the same email with two different partners, then that is mainly could be one of the reasons that you are not, that your information is going through a verification process before they can tell you if you're eligible or not, or if you're selected or not. So be patient. The most important thing here is just to be patient. And if you haven't heard at all, if you don't recall how you applied, if you've lost the email or whatnot, then go ahead and reapply. Important to know when to contact EDC regarding the California relief grant is if you have general questions about the program, such as the program overview, eligibility, application process, etc. If you have questions about the application process, including how to apply or how to complete the application and what information is needed. If you need help completing the application, like uploading your documents. If you need help with the application in another language. If you would like resources to help guide you through the application process, and if you have questions about what documentation is required for the grant, that's when you can contact EDC. When to contact Lendistry, and that is if you've submitted an application and need help fixing an error in the information you provided. So if you know for a fact you've already submitted and you haven't heard, or you have you're having issues logging on, that's when you need to contact them. If you cannot locate your username and password for the portal, and this is especially for those that you received that, but you cannot now find it. That would be where this applies. If you have tried resetting your password but it still cannot log in, same thing, contact them. And if you are receiving an error message when submitting an application and or uploading documents, um, you can contact Lendistry at the number here on the screen. They're open Monday through Friday from 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. and Saturday from 7 a.m. to 12 p.m. And we highly encourage you to visit careliefgrant.com. This is where you will see, the latest updates regarding the application. You can also find the application guides within each application, either for-profit businesses or nonprofit businesses. You will be able to find most detail of the information we are sharing with you here. The other programs, Paycheck Protection Program, remind those of you who have already, applied or already have a Paycheck Protection Program loan. There's a first draw, second draw, and a modified first draw. Reminding you that the purpose of this loan is to cover your payroll expenses and other expenses if you don't have, let's say, enough payroll. So make sure that you understand, if you qualify and how to qualify for that. For the second draw, most of the eligibility for this program is for independent contractors, sole proprietors, self-employed individuals, and businesses with less than 500 employees in operations as of 2/15/2020. Check your NAIC code to make sure that you also qualify for if you are in the hospitality business. For the second draw, you must have less than 300 employees and be able to demonstrate that you've experienced more than 25% decline in your gross receipts. And as far as modifying your first draw, we encourage you to contact your lender to find out what process they are taking or how they're processing modifying your first draw application. Also, there is the forgiveness process. If you are awaiting to get forgiveness for your first PPP, it is important to know that you need to contact your lender, or you've already been contacted by them, maybe provided with a portal of where to complete the correct application for your business, what type of documentation you need to provide to them. That is your payroll forms and your non-payroll documents. As well as submitting that application, again, through your lender, not directly to the SBA, but to your lender. And you need to communicate with your lender throughout the process. So again, if you've obtained one of these PPP loans and have questions on that, contact your lender if you don't know what the status of your application is. There is also the employee and employer payroll tax deferral. That is Social Security employee and employer portion of deferral. This allows employers to defer the deposit and payment of the employer's share of Social Security taxes and self-employed individuals to defer payment of certain self-employment taxes and employees who also elect to participate. These are payroll taxes or federal payroll taxes that you would normally pay either on a monthly basis or on a biweekly basis with payroll. You can choose to defer the Social Security portion. And for that, if you have a payroll provider, you can also ask how you can do that. It's mainly done again through your payroll. You can you can do it when you process your payroll. Before you can submit that payment, you gotta choose to defer those payrolls. There's also the employee retention tax credit. This is a refundable advanceable tax credit of up to $14,000 per employee. Businesses with 500 or fewer employees that experience more than 20% decline of gross receipts in a quarter compared to 2019. Employers can get immediate access to the credit by reducing employment tax deposits they are otherwise required to make. And also, if the employer's employment tax deposits are not sufficient to cover the credit, the employer may get an advance payment from the IRS. This particular credit is you can obtain this, let's say, refund if you've have already paid for all your payroll taxes for, let's say, quarter 4, and you didn't take advantage of this credit, then you can, this is where you can apply through Form 7200, which is the advance of employer credits due to COVID-19. So again, this is something that your payroll provider can help you with, or if you process your own payroll, depending on how you're processing it, you should be able to do that through your 941. And again, if you didn't do it through your 941, then you can do it through Form 7200. There's also the targeted EIDL advance, which is it is a an advance if you apply for an EIDL loan. Now, this second round of funding has put aside a particular amount for these type of grants, and it is for businesses that are 300 or fewer employees located in census tract eligible for new market tax credits, and that have experienced 30% reduction in gross receipts for an 8-week period between 3/2/2020 and 12/31/2020 compared to a similar period in 2019. For this grant, there's no place to apply for this. This is that if you've applied for an EIDL loan, you will be contacted by the SBA if you are within one of these areas. And there's no place to go and apply for this EIDL advance. So just making sure that you understand and know that. As far as the EIDL loans, this loan is the EIDL loan is it's to meet financial obligations and operating expenses that could have been met had the disaster not occurred, working capital and normal operating expenses. An example of that could be your continuation of healthcare benefits, rent, utilities, debt payments, etc. The terms of this loan are 3.75% for businesses and 2.75% for nonprofits. It can be up to 30 years, a loan term of 30 years, and there's no prepayment penalty or fees. The collateral requirement is for any loans over $25,000. There is a personal guarantee required. And also the SBA uses a general security agreement known as the UCC, designating business assets as collateral. For example, your machinery and equipment, your furniture and fixtures. One thing I want to mention about the EIDL loan, some of you may have already received a letter from the SBA. And the letters that we've seen that have been received are two different kinds. One is letting you know that there's additional documentation that is required from you. That documentation could be anywhere from a borrower resolution, particularly for those businesses that are incorporated. They have been asking that you provide a copy of the meeting minutes where your corporation decided to obtain or enter into this agreement or accept a loan from the SBA. So they are asking for that borrower resolution. And again, it's just like a letter or a copy of your minutes that should be recorded within your corporate book. Also, the other type of document that they're asking is your hazardous insurance. If you go back to your original note when you obtained this loan for the EIDL, you signed off on the different requirements that you were going to need to comply with. Again, one of those was the hazardous insurance, which they are also requiring a copy of that. So those are the letters that we're seeing. Some of them, are missing maybe the articles of incorporation. And if you get that letter, just make sure that you understand. If you don't, this is where you could call EDC so they can pair you up with an advisor who can help you, make sure that you understand what's on the letter or review that letter for you and help you and guide you. The other type of letter that some of you might have received regarding this EIDL loan is how to make the payments for your loan. And for this, what it's simply telling you is you can pay make a payment by check, and or you can make a payment online. Um, it doesn't tell you or when the payment is due. For that, what we encourage you to do, or we recommend that you do, is that you go back to your original note, where you're going to be able to see when you obtained the loan, and the first payment is due within 12 months, or 12 months from the date of when you receive the funds. So if you receive the funds in May, then 12 months from that is when you will be making your first payment. You may already have received, like I said, this letter that is telling you when to make a payment, or how to make a payment, but it doesn't tell you when to make a payment. The SBA is sending statements, and it should on that statement tell you what the due date of your first payment is. That I wanted to make sure that we mentioned that, because we have seen um, a high number of requests for, confusion as far as these letters. There are also SBA Express Bridge Loans, which enables small businesses who currently have a business relationship with an SBA Express lender to access up to $25,000 quickly. And for the eligibility for this is if a small business has an urgent need for cash while waiting for decision and disbursement on an economic injury disaster loan, they may qualify for an SBA Express Disaster Bridge Loan. This is through, again, an SBA lender. And the SBA also has debt relief, and it is providing financial providing a financial reprieve to small businesses during COVID-19 pandemic. This The SBA will pay 6 months of the principal, interest, and any associated fees that borrowers owe for all current 7A, 504, and microloans in regular servicing status, as well as new 7A, 504, and microloans disbursed prior to September 27. So if you obtain an EIDL loan, a loan from the SBA prior to September 27th that qualifies under any of these types of loans, the SBA will automatically do that. Help you with that, with those payments. Now, if you are not sure what type of loan you have, I want to make sure that you understand this is not for the EIDL loan. This is mainly for any other types of loans that you had prior to September 27 that you obtained from the SBA. So again, check with your lender. If you received a loan from your bank and you're not sure if it's an SBA loan, then check with them. They might have already given you that information. Mm, the LIFE grant is another relief program. It is still not open yet, meaning you cannot still apply, but the purpose of this grant is for up to 10 million or 45% of your 2019 gross air revenue, whichever is less. It would give you at least 2 billion. There is at least 2 billion of the total grant reserved for eligible small operators with up to 50 full-time employees. The eligibility is for live venue operators or promoters, theatrical producers, live performing arts organization operators, relevant museum operators, zoos and aquariums who meet specific criteria, motion picture theater operators, talent representatives, and each business entity owned by an eligible entity that also meets the eligibility requirements. Other requirements to note is that you must have been in operation as of February 29, 2020, and the venue or promoter must have received a PPP loan on or after December 27, 2020. I know there's a lot of interest in this type of grant. Unfortunately, the SBA has not released additional information other than what we have here. If you check their website, you will find that there's still no updated information, unfortunately. So they're still not accepting SVO applications. I know that at the same time, there's a great concern because you may think that time is running out. Just want to remind you about the different programs and how they kind of integrate or relate to the live venue grant. For the PPP, it's used primarily to cover payroll costs for employees rather than independent contractors. It is a forgivable loan if certain standards and eligibility requirements are met. The SVOG grant or the SVO grant, it provides eligibility requirements. You need to meet the eligibility requirements, and it allows you for a broader use of funds, and it does not need to be repaid. And the COVID EIDL is a loan used primarily to cover working capital had the pandemic not occurred. Again, I know that there is a great concern for those of you who are, maybe qualify under this life grant, and you may, be wondering, should you apply for the PPP or the SBO grant? Again, we want to remind you that there's a priority basis. So if your business has, suffered 90% or more in reduction of sales, obviously that's a priority for this type of grant. Then the second priority is, if you've lost, 70%, then 50%, then 25%. So if depending on where you're at, that may help you to know if you should go ahead and apply for a PPP versus waiting until this live venue grant opens. For Santa Barbara businesses, restaurant businesses, the Santa Barbara Foundation has just announced that they have an up to $10,000 per grant based on the number of qualifying applicants. In order to qualify for this grant, it's the Elaine F. Stepanek Restaurant Fund Grant program. Restaurants must meet the following requirements. They must be located in either the city of Santa Barbara or the San Ynez Valley, including Los Alamos, be a small, independently owned dining restaurant that has been adversely affected by COVID, operational prior to March 1st. Businesses that open in 2020 can contact Jessica Sanchez. There's the email here on the screen to discuss application exceptions. The gross total sales declined by at least 25% as a result of COVID during any quarter of 2020 compared to the same period of 2019. No more than $3 million in gross total sales between January 1st and December 31st, 2019. Businesses that open in 2020 can also contact Jessica to discuss alternative metrics and the ability to provide documentation to verify the economic hardship suffered as a result of the COVID-19 crisis, including tax returns, financial statements, and other financial data. Unlike other of the federal programs, this is more of a local grant program, so make sure that you maybe visit their website, sbfoundation.org, to find out more information on this particular grant. Another type of relief is the California Department of Tax and Fee Administrations. If you collect sales tax on your sales and need a little bit of a break, those dates have been extended depending on when your taxes are due. The most recent one was the fourth quarter of 2020. That has been extended to April 30th, 2021. So check when the due date for your next filing is, and find out what the extension date is. That you can visit the CDTFA's website for more information on the extended dates. And there hasn't really been more information on the expanded unemployment benefits except for what's on, the EDD's website. So I want to encourage you to, check constantly there. You probably have been receiving either communication from EDD and or may have a case manager that can assist you with any questions related to expanded unemployment benefits. However, if you have not applied and you think you qualify, I would encourage you to, again, check the EDD's website. Locally, we still have EDC's Disaster Loan Fund. This is EDC's still offering 4 to 5% interest loans from $5,000 to $50,000 through our Disaster Loan Fund to give a cash flow boost for businesses impacted by reduced sales. And the first 3 months, it's interest only. It's a 48-month term. Women Economic Ventures also has their Weave Restart loans, and we encourage you to visit weaveonline.org for more information. And of course, you can also check the SBA website, COVID-19 funding sources, to find out more programs that are available for you. The SBA's website, if you enter your zip code and this link for the COVID-19 funding resources, it'll provide you with a list of all the programs that are available locally or within your area or that you could qualify for. And of course, also please visit our COVID-19 business resources. We have pages dedicated to all of these resources that we are sharing. We are updating them as we get updates. We're constantly updating it. So please make sure that you visit edcollaborative.com/COVID-19. And of course, if you need assistance with any of this information that I just shared, in addition, we also have advisors that can help you with marketing, operations, legal, and human resources. So if you have any questions related to what I just shared, but most importantly, other areas in your business, we want to make sure that you don't forget that there's other areas in your business that you may need assistance with, and we are here to help you. So while we know that many of the immediate resources and concerns have been addressed in previous material, the EDC SBDC is available at any time to help businesses create resiliency strategies to reopen or reposition after this disruption. We have a hotline that is in English, and we also have a hotline that is in Spanish. And I think that's it. I think I tried to go as fast as I could.
Hello, my friend. Everyone, thanks for being with us. I'm Emily Barony. I'm with Visionality. We run the tech side of things, and I'm here as Juliana's goofy co-host and fellow business owner. I'm not an EDC consultant, but I am an EDC client. So like, I'm also here to say my business might not be here if it wasn't for EDC, and they're just this incredible resource. And I'm really grateful to have you guys in our community. Okay, so we have a chunk of questions. I got a Lendistry email asking me to confirm my documents are in the right order. Is it the order that matters, or that the right document is attached to the correct descriptor? I'm almost positive I've done this correctly, but when I log into the Lendistry portal, it says my password is incorrect and it doesn't allow me to reset it. Please help, thank you.
So as far as does the document need to be in the right place? Yes, it does. It's very important. Remember, they're processing a ton of applications, a ton. So that is that process of uploading the information in the right place is very important. And this is where if you are having, not technical difficulty, but difficulty identifying that you are, putting in the right place, this is a perfect example of where we can assist you with that, just to make sure that you are, maybe that you're not missing something that that we could see for you. So definitely, it is important to put it in the right place. Now, as far as resetting your password, this is a perfect example. If you already have a username and password and now you're having difficulty resetting it, this is where you would need to contact Lendistry, because they'll be the best to assist you with that.
And the Lendistry portal best practices, if you're having technical difficulties, try it on Chrome, try it on a computer, not a tablet or a phone, clear your cache and cookies.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. And then if none of those work, call Lendistry.
Yeah.
Juliana, I was answering questions in the background. Did you do a screen share again of the portal and the way you upload the documents? Because that's something that tripped me up when I was doing my application. So it might be helpful to do that. And while you're pulling that up, everyone, we launched a poll. It's really helpful for us to understand more about you and how we can support you and how you heard about us. So if you wouldn't mind taking a couple minutes to let us know who you are, we would be deeply grateful.
All right, I'm gonna give it a try right now to see if I can pull that up. Well, I'm actually, yeah, here.
I have other questions if you can multitask. Have you heard anything about round 3 PPP?
Not yet, at least, even though I know there's noise about that, but not yet. It's not official yet, and this is why we don't want to share anything. Even though there's noise and we know that there's something coming, we don't know the details. And remember, sometimes just like with all the other programs, the announcement is usually before they're ready to take in all this information. So what I would say, the best encouragement I would give you and the best recommendation I could give you is have everything in order, meaning all your documentation, your financials need to be up to date. Your filings need to be up to date, particularly your 2019, taxes, make sure that those are ready. Your 2020 taxes, if you are, if you are trying um, to know which one is better for you, hey, this is maybe the time where you want to file early versus late. Mainly if you think, your 2020 numbers will help you better than your 2019 numbers, particularly for those businesses. I have spoken with a few clients who have, who started their business in late 2019. And they've been in business now since, so 2020 looks much better than 2019. That is when you want to probably file your taxes early, because then you'll have, your tax documents available to be able to, to apply for any of the programs. As soon as that information becomes available to us, we will for sure, share with you. And again, this is why we're here every Wednesday and every Friday, or every other Wednesday and every other Friday.
Yeah, and while you're pulling that up, I just want to guys, I'm a business owner too. We all hate QuickBooks. We all hate doing the bookkeeping. And this is the reason it's so important to stay up to date on that stuff, because it's really important to be able to apply for these programs, and you can't do it if you don't have your books in order. So if you're not quite there yet, use this as a motivation to get everything up to date. And if you're struggling with it, call EDC. I'll do my plug. Call EDC, ask for an advisor. Remember, you need to call them to become a client. Just because you're here, you're not a client. And then it only takes a couple minutes to sign up to be an EDC client. But then, from me, I came in as a Thomas Fire loan. That's how I came to EDC as a client. But now I've used them for years, just in other general business support. And so once you're a client, then they will pair you with an advisor based on your needs and advisor's abilities.
That's right. And I'm glad that you asked me to go into the portal, because I'm having a hard time logging on right now. So that's actually a perfect example of when you need to make sure that you are going to the portal from your partner, that you're going through the link that you get from Lendistry, letting you know, this is how you apply, this is what the email we have on file for you, this is your password, or that it's very important, because if you try to just go directly to Lendistry, and if you don't remember, even though you have your name, your username and password, if you don't remember which partner you applied through, then that could create an issue. So just remember on that. Go ahead and ask me another question. I'm working on getting this one, and it's coming.
Good. And we just had another question, so I wasn't clear. EDC is free to you, friends. Their consulting experts come to you for free. They are subsidized by your tax dollars, so you have already paid for the services. All you have to do is call them and get hooked up with a business advisor. I'm serious, they're awesome. Okay, the California Relief Grant application asked if I had received a PPP loan. At the time I had not, but since then I did apply and I did receive a loan. Do I need to amend my application? I'm a single member LLC.
You don't need to amend your application. I mean, it is really, the information was at the time that you applied, so that you as long as you responded that correctly. Also want to remind everyone that the fact that you have received funds from, or relief funds from other programs does not, that is not a part of your eligibility. As long as the rest of your eligibility is there, the receiving any additional funding does not disqualify you. Does not make you ineligible.
With the exception, correct me if I'm wrong, that's true for all of the relief programs, with the exception of the SVO grant. If you received PPP after what date, then you can't apply for SVO. So there is a discernment period of which one you want to go for.
Correct. That would be the after December 27, and you are correct. Yes.
On PPP round 2, my application says I can use either 2019 payroll or 2020 payroll. Is it correct? And if so, could I take payroll from the beginning of January 2020 and multiply that by 2.5?
Sorry, repeat that question. I cannot multitask. Go ahead.
Neither can I.
I just learned that right now.
Yeah, welcome to the party. So PPP round 2 says that I can use either 2019 payroll or 2020. So is that correct? Can I take the beginning of January 2020 and multiply it by 2.5?
Yeah, so you can choose one or the other, either 2019 or 2020, but you got to understand that it's your, the full year divided by 12. That will give you your average monthly payroll, and then that multiplied by 2.5.
So because we want our PPPs to be as big as possible, what we should do is run a 2019 payroll report for the whole year and run a 2020 for the whole year, divide it by 12 and see which number is bigger.
Correct. Just make sure that you're going to be able to use those funds and within the 8 or 24 week period, and be able to provide, documentation of how you use those funds. Okay, I'm in the portal now. I can share that with you guys so we can see what we're looking for, right? So let's go back. Oh, am I sharing my screen yet? No. Okay. So let me share this. So when you log in, you're going to say pending documentation upload. You're going to see that when you click on upload documents, you're going to then see that, if it's completed or not, right? So if it's completed, it's going to show green. That means that the application certification is also here as part of that document, right? Then the next one is the government issued ID. That is when you want to click on browse and then upload documents, right? You're going to find that document that corresponds to your government issued ID. You're also going to find the document that corresponds to your 2019. Now, this is what I'm finding that some individuals are not seeing. If you notice, when you click on here, right? You may click on here and notice how it's a little bit grayed versus this, right? You may think that you're uploading there, but in reality, you're uploading on the third one. So what you want to make sure is that you click mainly on the name. That will move it to where you see how it grays it. So make sure that you're here, and that's where you want to upload the document that corresponds to that name. Same thing here. You want to upload the documents that correspond there, and so on. So making sure that that is what you're doing. Otherwise, you are, that's where you may still be getting an email saying, hey, your information is not complete. Please make sure it is. And if you are for sure 100% that everything's there, then it's okay. You will be still contacted if they're still missing something from you, or if it's not in the correct place.
Yeah, the mistake I made is I clicked upload documents and uploaded the whole list in one swoop. And so you have to go click on one and then upload one document. Click on the second one, upload one document. And
Correct.
then the other thing I recommend, remove a password. A lot of us have password protected maybe on our taxes. So I recommend removing that password. It's just one more piece of information to get lost or whatever. And then I also like to name my documents when I upload them with the exact same language. So mine would say Visionality government issued ID, or Visionality 2019 bank, or 2019 taxes. So again, we're just like making everything as easy as possible. And then the last thing I did is I looked at this right here and I just double checked government issue ID document, and then I previewed it and I said, yes, that is my government issue ID, just to give myself.
You would check on that preview. I'm not going to click on the preview, but yes, you can check make sure that you have that information. And you are correct, Emily. That is the best recommendation. If you name it the same when you're saving that PDF, name it the same that the title document you are being required to do. So definitely, and just want to remind everyone. Be patient, right? Be patient, because right now I was trying to rush logging in, and he told me like 20 times that I was putting the wrong password, and I was just making the mistake on one digit. And so it's really not that if there's something wrong with the, with the website. It's just, we just got to be patient, be cautious of when you're, logging back in. Take your time to review the documents. Remember, this is not a first come, first serve. So if you've already been notified that you've been selected, then you're in the queue. It's just a matter of them getting back to your file. If you have not, but you've been told that you're, waitlisted, then same thing. Just, be patient, make sure that everything's up there, and they'll come to you because you've already been notified, right? So
Don't
just,
apply again. You're already in the queue. If you haven't applied, do apply. Um, and then just a reminder that this grant was specifically designed for minority owned companies. So I understand that it can be frustrating to learn, I'm a white woman, so that means, I might be ahead in the line from a white man, but Juliana's ahead of me because she's a person of color and a woman business owner. So I know that can be frustrating because we're all struggling and we just need all the help. But this was specifically designed for minority business owners. And so that's why they have prioritized it that way. I know there's a question later, but we'll just answer it right now. The ways that they prioritize it, they have you check different boxes. Are you woman owned, vet owned, minority owned, and are you in a rural county or community? Juliana, how do we?
if you are yeah, it's a rural area, but also in a county or in an area that has been mostly impacted. And remember, the state has that map. Remember that purple, I'm sorry, that map of which counties are the ones that have been the more restricted because of the cases. They know which counties have been the most impacted. So if you're in one of those counties, and even within Ventura, there are areas within our county that are considered more on the, on the low income versus not. And so that also would qualify a business. You may have a neighbor who falls under that area versus, you who don't, and maybe they get it and you don't, or they get it first before you do. And that's also important to understand. Now, how do we know that? I mean, unfortunately, I don't have that information as to where, but definitely the state has that information, and it's just a matter of being patient. Most importantly, if you've already been told you do not qualify, you're ineligible, and you apply a second time, you're automatically going to be, ineligible. Obviously, if you meet all those requirements and all those priorities, you do have the right to, go to Lendistry and find out more. But I would say, you know, um, just know that they're dealing with, with quite a significant amount of applications.
Yeah, and there's also bonus points for being one of the hardest hit industries, right? Like beauty.
Mhm.
Um, 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 I tried to get an increase in Eidl and they said we had the max. We have PPP and the California grant. What other sources of relief funds are available to California businesses? And she has one in Ventura County and one in LA County.
So I would say at this point alone, I mean, if you already received 150,000 from the EIDL, that's the max amount of the loan that we know that there was. And if you've already exhausted all of those options, from the PPP and the Eidl, and the grants, then maybe considering one of the local funds, right? Maybe, our EDC loan fund, especially if you can, the lenders are trying to find or are mainly are going to look at how you were performing prior to COVID. If it wasn't for COVID and you were doing well and you're able to demonstrate that, they're going to be looking at that information to be able to qualify you for funding. I'm not saying that they won't if you weren't doing well. I'm just saying that that's the information they're going to be looking at. So if you had already, if you've been in operation, you were performing well, or you can prove that you had an operating business that was, would be able to service this loan should had the disaster not happened, then, you are in a very, high chance of being able to, to apply, to qualify for lending. And again, if you're not sure, if you've already, if you think you've already exhausted all the options, still, we encourage you to meet with a financial advisor or with an advisor to maybe take a look at different areas in your business that you should be doing, or you should be changing. Maybe it's, maybe you're spending too much money in one place versus the other. Uh, I don't know, right? You would only be able to know that if a second set of eyes, a different person outside of your business is looking at it, and then it's giving you, more insight about your business. I always like saying, I'm going to be looking, or we're going to be looking from outside the box. When you're in the box, you may not be able to see everything that's around you, or all the possibilities. So definitely having a second set of eyes looking at your business um, will then open up, the different opportunities that there might be that you might not be seeing.
Yeah, and I know, I resisted applying for that Thomas Fire Relief Grant until Woolsey, actually. And I was so embarrassed, and I was like, oh, like I'm a good business owner. Good business owners don't need to apply for loans. And I was wrong. And like, my business is here because I applied for that loan. And so I just want to just like bring a face to an EDC loan, right? And I also want to take a moment to say that more help is on the way. We don't necessarily know what it's going to be yet, but like, more help is on the way. And so don't give up. Like, you're not alone. We're here. And there is absolutely more help coming.
Yeah.
More? My background is I'm employed, but I also do consulting. However, my question is, what support is there for me if I have renters that are paying a discounted rate due to COVID?
So, as far I know that a part of this, this new legislation or what they're working on right now, there's going to be some type of relief there. I'm not sure what exactly yet, but as far as, I don't know if you've already applied for, for a PPP, or if you've already applied for an EIDL. Really, if you've already exhausted all of those resources, maybe a loan, especially if you're a landlord who was receiving, rent, or was having income, you have an investment property maybe. And one of the things that I have found with a few, with some clients, is that they're scared, or they're hesitant, or they don't want to put their either their property as guarantee or their business property as guaranteed. And unless you do that, you might not get the funding that you need. And this is where you use your assets to help you, secure more funding for your business. So if you're a landlord, or someone that owns a property that, was performing well because they had renters, maybe explore that option of, putting that property as a guarantee. I mean, yes, you put a lien on that property, yet nothing's going to happen to your property unless you want to sell it, and you want to, obviously need to meet your obligation first. So understand, that dynamic. It may be temporary. Maybe you get the loan now, and then things, when things there's more relief, you are able to pay that loan back, and then you're back on track. That's really, again, understanding the different options you have. It's so important. So if if you're, again, a landlord who, are it's struggling yourself, then, look to see if there's um, meet with someone, with an advisor that can take a look at the different options that you might have for that.
Yep. Do you know when California grant funds will hit bank accounts?
So from the date that you sign, they have 45 days to fund you. So it doesn't mean that they're going to take 45 days, but they have, from the date of signing, 45 days from there. And again, it's based on if you've verified everything, if you've signed the loan doc, if you have signed the loan document, like through DocuSign, funding is going to be in pretty soon. I want to say within a week or two, you will see the funding. If you haven't, then not until you get that DocuSign document is that you will. And again, from the date that they tell you you're selected, there's 45 days from that date.
Great. I am self-employed and on PUA. When I make zero, I get my payment right away. But I've had a little bit of income in 2021. But the status has said pending for 2 weeks with no payment. Do you know what could be holding up the payments?
One of the things I know that EDD has been faced with or has been facing is fraud, and unfortunately, that affects the rest of the individuals who are not, doing committing fraud. So unfortunately, there's really not, a lot of clear, understanding of why that happens versus not. But we do know that they're facing having to, check on that eligibility, which is one of the reasons that also the California grant is taking its time too, because they're going through the process of verifying everything and not just dispersing the funds just to those people that have a good, a good faith statement that yes, everything is valid, and then come and find out that it's not, because that's exactly what happened to EDD. There was that good faith statement that, they were accepting as part of eligibility, and then turns out that there was a lot of fraud going on. So now they've had to step back and take those precautions to make sure that when you are, declaring income, or when you are, applying, to make sure that, all the ducks are in a row and, all the dots are met. So at this time, I would say patience. I know that's probably not the answer you want to hear, but it's really just, patience, patience, patience.
And because this came up at an earlier webinar, I want to take a moment. There is so much fraud out there with these programs. And so none of these applications cost money. And make sure you're checking URLs you're on, and always go from a trusted source. So you can go to the EDC's website and we have links to all the programs, or you could go to the SBA website and then link off to Lendistry, right? So we just want to make sure that no one is a victim. As few people are a victim as fraud. And if you suspect that you have been a victim of fraud, there are people handling that at the SBA. So if you think so, make sure you call us at EDD so that we can connect you with the fraud department.
EDC.
Huh?
At EDC.
At EDC.
Call
Yeah.
EDC.
We produce 5 California wine festivals, yum, in 5 different venues throughout the state, and we include live musical acts, but we are not a venue. Do we qualify for the SVO?
The SBO grant. It sounds like you do. It sounds like you do. And again, it's still not a lot of information yet, like the specifics and more detail on, we only have the general, if you're a promoter. The main goal is that this is your main source of income, not your occasional source of income. That is also going to be important to understand, because you may be a winery and that may be your main source of income, and then just those 5 may be a secondary source of income and may not be your primary. So that is also going to be, to take part in understanding, are you really a live venue? Because live venue that's your main source of income, like the theaters, like like the sports centers and such, versus someone that is just having a few live events a year, but that's not their main source of income.
So this person, they said they organize the events, but it's at other people's venues throughout the state. So just to clarify, as long as your main source of income is organizing events, even though it's called shuttered venue, you don't actually have to have the 4 walls.
So this is mainly for those businesses that have walls, right? That they bring that source of income. Because right now, if you think about it, those venues have been impacted the most, right? Even though you're the promoter, right? I mean, if you are a promoter and you are the one that's driving the income to that venue, then it's the venue that has been affected. Even though the venue is paying you, it's really the venue that has been affected. So again, as more information comes, we will have we will have a little bit more guidance. At this time, there's really not more on the specifics of, how do I know if this is my situation? How do I know if I, if I do qualify? Again, it's mainly for those venues that have walls, that have a location.
Uh-oh.
Oh,
You
right here.
cut out for a second. Now I swallowed my tea wrong. How do I correct a mistake on the relief application? Is it just calling Lendistry?
Depending on what type of mistake, I mean, yes, if you no longer can access your application through the portal, yes, you would want to contact Lendistry, especially if you already have a username and password.
Great. Can I refinance an Eidl loan that I received in May through a PPP loan?
An Eidl loan, and was this, well,
The answer, I
the
think,
Eidl, the only, no, you cannot. The only thing that you could do before this latest update on the legislation is that you would include that Eidl grant that you received as part of your PPP loan, and you could use that PPP loan to repay that grant. That's what the only item that you could use to reorganize that debt.
yeah, and I think it specifically, for both of those programs, it specifically says you cannot use that money to pay
Same
off
thing.
previous debt. And that is true. And if you get PPP, now you use PPP to pay payroll, and you can use your additional profit to pay down your Eidl loan. So maybe adjust your mindset just a little bit in that way. But no, you cannot take $11,000 PPP and pay $11,000
No.
Eidl.
Correct. And again, prior to December 27th, the Eidl grant was deducted from the forgiveness, right? Which is why you would want to use PPP to pay for that Eidl grant. However, that's no longer the case. So you cannot use PPP to pay that. You can use PPP to pay your mortgage interest, which is a prior debt that you probably had, but not an Eidl loan.
Great. I think I know the right answer to this. And George and I have gone back and forth a little bit. So he and his wife have a pass-through LLC. They are not employees of their pass-through LLC. And the question was, can they apply for PPP? And I thought, no, because they don't have, they're not employees of their own LLC, but I wanted to follow up and make sure.
So when you file as an LLC, you, in essence, if you are being treated as an S corp, you should be on payroll. This is one of the reasons that you elect to be an S corp. If you are not an S corp and it's still mainly like a sole proprietor, right? Or you're an LLC, but then that means that when you file your LLC taxes, you will have that income, and that will generate your K1s. The K1s is what you what you would put on your Schedule C, or what you put, sorry, on your taxes. So that you would be able to qualify, because in essence you are filing as a sole proprietor, on your personal taxes. So check your tax returns. But yes, you can apply for a PPP if you're an LLC, even though you don't have employees, because it is like a self-employed income, pretty much.
Yep. All right. I'm so glad I asked, because I misunderstood that.
Yeah.
On the Eidl loan, the SBA only gave me $1,000 instead of the full $10,000. Can I apply for the rest?
Unfortunately, no. That targeted EIDL loan, targeted EIDL advance that I mentioned, is mainly the SBA will be contacting you if you meet their requirements or the eligibility. One of those is you got to be in one of those designated, low income or Main Street market areas, and also, the most impacted. So the SBA will contact you if you are part of that. But no, unfortunately there isn't a way that you can apply for the difference.
Great. Can Eidl be used to pay state fund fees? So that's workers' comp through the state of California.
That is yeah. I mean, Eidl is for your operational expenses, and if in this case workers' comp, it's an operational expense. So yes, you can use it for that.
Well, and PPP is limited to like this certain list of things, but Eidl really is operating money for your business. So can I take my Eidl and buy myself a Porsche? No. but like within the confines of my operating expenses, any legitimate business expense, you can use Eidl to pay for that.
Correct.
I applied for an SBA loan last year. They sent me a letter asking for me to do it again and in some forms, which I did in December. Is there someone who can help me find out what is happening with the loan, or should I resubmit the whole thing again?
You should not resubmit the loan. I am pretty sure if you were contacted and told, like, to submit documents, they must have given you a contact number. They probably even, some, like the officer, the SBA officer who contacted you or send you the information of your loan. I would first go there, and they do provide, anytime that the SBA sends out information like an email letting you know you're eligible, they do provide their contact information, and they tell you they specify there who to contact or how to contact them. So I would go back to that original email, especially if you've already received some type of documentation from them, then go back to that, because that's actually going to be a much better source than if you just go into the general, phone number. So I would, even though it may still be the same number, but I would say go back to that documents that you received, because that's going to give you more guidance on who you should contact, when you should contact them, and so on.
I have an opportunity for you to stand on a soapbox, Juliana.
Yeah.
I'm self-employed, no employees. I do not have a business checking account. I do have a savings account that is under my business name. I also have my personal checking account. If I have PPP funds deposited into my business savings account and do weekly electronic transfers to my personal checking, is that enough to provide proof for loan forgiveness?
It should be. However, really, your best bet is going to be your profit and loss. And actually it would be your profit and loss in addition to those to those transfers. So first, make sure that your P&L is accurate, meaning you've been accounted for the income, the expenses, right? Because that P&L is going to say, if you think about it, your P&L is what you use to file your 2019 taxes, which for you to be able to get your PPP loan, you use your 2019 taxes, which again should have had the information from your P&L. So it will be exactly the same for your 2020 to apply for forgiveness as to how you use that money. And in this case, if it was to pay yourself, then your P&L will show. The P&L wouldn't show your pay, right? But it will show if you had, let's say, a loss, or if you received this money, you will be able to show that. So that's in addition to those transfers. So yes, and also check with your lender as far as what type of documentation they're requesting, because I have had different cases where the different institutions have asked for different things. So check with your lender as far as what's sufficient, or what's the requirement. They're the ones that are going to review it and say yay or nay, and make the recommendation to the SBA for the forgiveness. So if they accept it, that is most likely that they have already received that information or verification from the SBA, right? If they tell you, well, we don't know, we'll just go ahead and submit it, then come SBA and say, no, we need more, then you'll need to be prepared to show more. But I would say check with your lender, make sure that they understand, that they tell you what they expect from you.
And open a darn business checking account.
That is true. I'm going to plug something here that it's so important for small business owners, especially those that are self-employed. The IRS recommends that you do not, or actually condemns you if you commingle funds, which means if you are using your personal account for both business and personal, that is a can of worms that you don't want open. So yes, go ahead. Even if all the funds that come through your business, you end up transferring to your personal account, it is best to show that they came into one account that was exclusively for business. And then you can show those transfers from your business to your personal account, right? The way that I usually picture it is, put everything in your business, have your P&L. If you make a lot of money from there, then you transfer it to your bank account. You are taxed on whatever your business does, not what you do with the money. So as long as you file correctly, then you can do whatever you want with the money. But you want to show that track record. You don't want the IRS, or in this case, any of the government agencies who are going to be asking for verification or certification of how you use the funds. You don't want them to doubt that you've used it properly. So make sure that yes, you open a bank account for your business.
Homework, everyone, have a business account. Also, just like 2 points, because someone else asked it, like some advice on like what bank. So personally, I do my business and my personal banking in the same institution, just because that's logistically easier, number one. Number two, make sure you check the terms of the bank accounts. So my brother is launching a business and he was going to go with a bank account with $1,000 minimum balance. I'm like, I'm 10 years old and I don't have $1,000 minimum balance. So just make sure you look at the minimum balance, the fees, the transaction limits, that kind of stuff when you're choosing a bank.
And if I can just add to that, usually community banks are much more friendly to work with the self-employed or the smaller businesses. And that's one of the reasons I love them, because they understand, and most of them have a free business checking. So yes, check what type of account.
Great. I don't think I chose a Lendistry partner. I don't see where to do that. So if you have applied for the relief grant, you did choose a partner. And if you have not yet applied, my team's going to put the Lendistry link in the chat because a couple people are asking for it. And so what we recommend you do is you look at all the different partners and pick the partner that's closest to you. So I pick like the Women Business Center or whatever.
Can I share really quick that so that they know what you're talking about? I like for them to see when you are ready to apply, right? You will be able to say apply through a partner. You're going to say by county. You don't have to do it by Ventura County, but you could. And let's say we click Ventura County, and then it will list all the different organizations within our area. And this is where, we are here at Economic Development Collaborative, and you can then, apply now through them. And then that's where you go ahead, click here to apply. That is very important that that when you do apply and you do receive your username and password, you use the link that you're provided. Because I do want to say that when you are provided with that link, they'll tell you to that partner's information. So please make sure that you know that.
And will you pop back in here to the portal? We had one more clarification question about the documents. So because this is so important, I just want to put you on the spot.
I know you're putting me on the spot again. What if I don't remember the password? No, I'm just kidding. Let's see. I'm going to try because see, right now, for instance, I went through just where I clicked and it doesn't kind of remember my username. So I got to remember to go back to that original email that I received so I can click on that. So yes, now I have it up. I love when you put me on the spot.
Juliana, your homework is to get a password manager. Come on, man. I'm just giving everyone homework. Okay, so what's important, Bill, is that in each of these sections, the proper document is uploaded. So what you need to do is click on, for example, government issued ID, and then upload your ID. And then you click on 2018-19 tax returns and you upload that 2018 or 19 tax return. So just make sure that you're uploading just the one exact thing that is listed there.
And notice how when you click on application certification, it does say here, please upload document for application certification right there. When you move, and then it's going to say, please upload document for government issued IDO. When you click on the next one, it's going to say, please upload document for most recently filed 2018 tax returns. So notice how not only it changes the color here, but it also changes the description over here. Please upload document for one of the following: articles of incorporation, certificate of organization, etc.
Awesome. And Juliana, go back one page where it very confusingly says documents pending, even though your documents are not pending.
Yes, that would be when you go back to your, is it here? No.
I think there, try.
No, it was save and close. Let me see.
Yeah.
No, it is because it kicked me out. Hold on. I think we timed out.
Perfect.
Hold on.
But just to answer your question, yes, it says pending document upload. And then under it in green, I think it says, this will say pending document upload, even if you've uploaded all your documents.
Yes.
So I know that is horribly confusing. And so what I do to make myself feel good is I just reopened all those documents.
Right here, pending document upload. This message will show even if all uploaded items are complete. So just keep that in mind. I think that part of the issue here is that we are anxious. Or part that contributes to our, we're anxious, and of course, it is very valid. Be patient. That's all I can tell you. Be patient.
Yes. I'm a consultant 1099 who lost my client contract in May and 100% of my income. I've been receiving PUA, but I'm falling behind. I'm sorry to hear that. Is there any additional support? There will be.
If there was, I mean, if you've already applied for the PPP, do you qualify for the second round? I mean, remember, PPP is not just for those businesses that have employees. You are self-employed, you are the employee. So make sure that you understand that as long as you were in business by February 15, 2020, you do qualify for the PPP. So I would highly encourage you, if you haven't, if you've applied for PUA because you would get more money there, but now that's being exhausted, because that's another thing that I want to make sure that everybody understands. When your unemployment is based on how much you've contributed towards that fund, right? So we sometimes don't think about, how do they calculate what I'm entitled to? There's a limit as to how much you qualify for, right? So, and that is based on the history of your employment in the past. So if you were an employee in the past and now you are self-employed, it's going to be based on, the last 18 months to calculate how much you're eligible for. So if you've exhausted that, now it's time maybe to consider PPP, maybe Eidl, maybe another loan. I know that we don't want to get into that, and I know you've already mentioned that multiple times, Emily. Yet, if you had not had this impact, you would be able to, to pay back this loan, right? So, and there's a lot of the loans here, I mean, including ours, our fund, or EDC's fund, are, no prepayment penalty. So if you need the money, and at the end, let's say unemployment gets extended and now then you can pay that money back. I mean, you don't have to, spend it all.
Don't take a loan and act irresponsibly with it. I, for my business, have accepted every offer of help as a safety net. I'm not, again, don't go buy a Porsche. Don't launch $100,000 marketing campaign that you weren't already planning on doing. But these programs are designed to help us stay afloat and get through this. And there is no shame in taking that lifeline, because our goal as a nation is to keep small businesses afloat.
Correct. Because we're the backbone of this economy.
Yeah. I'm a sole proprietor. I received my second PPP loan. Do I need to show that I am paying myself a salary in 8-week portions of the loan to qualify for forgiveness?
You don't have to do it in 8-week portions. I think that as long as you're able to demonstrate that you've paid yourself within those 8 weeks or 24 weeks, again, check with your lender what type of documentation they're going to ask for, because for the application, they ask for your 2019 tax return. For your forgiveness, if you haven't filed your taxes, then it may be your P&L. So as long as you have the right documents, and again, you don't have to spend it all at once, or in those chunks, as you would. The best way that I would describe it is, how would you normally have paid yourself, right? And we talked about this, Emily, in the past. Like, how do you normally pay yourself? Is it every week? Is it every other week? Is it as needed? Well, then continue doing the way that, continue doing it the way you were doing it, as long as you're then able to provide documentation of how you disburse those funds.
And you have to elect if you're doing the 8-week or the 24-week, and then demonstrate that you did exhaust those funds within the selected
That period. Correct.
What is PUA?
It's pandemic unemployment assistance.
So is that the like enhanced unemployment insurance?
Yeah, that is for particularly for the self-employed individuals, because when you're an employee, you can apply for unemployment, but for the when you're self-employed, you kind of don't have an unemployment reserve, so that PUA is that that piece to treat those business owners who did not are not employees per EDD code.
Wonderful. My friend, we have come to the end. So I'm going to give one more strong plug for EDC. Call them, become a client. Again, we're all focused on getting through COVID, and also running a business is hard and growing a business is hard. And that's why EDC is here. They meet you where you are, and then they help you get to your next place in like all kinds of different areas. I've gone to EDC for like strategic planning support, bookkeeping and accounting, sort of like restructuring my finances. So like really call them. They're pretty cool. What else? What do I always say?
I think that most importantly, remember, we do update update the website, so check that constantly. This is where you can find the recordings from our previous webinars. You can find the dates for our upcoming webinars. Claire did mention that there's going to be other webinars that are coming. So we also share our other resource partners webinars. So check that constantly, because you can find not just this webinar information, but also other webinar information around, within our area and from our other partners. And again, I cannot express enough how important it is to not just have a handle on the finances. That is wonderful that you're, looking for the answers for all of those. I also want to make sure that you are also tapping into your marketing, your operations, your legal matters, your human resource matters, etc. And for that, contact EDC so they can pair you up with an advisor.
Yep. Our next webinar will be next Wednesday. If you showed up here, you'll get an invite to register for Wednesday. And when we have more information about the venue grant, we will have a dedicated webinar just around that grant, because we know you have so many questions.
Correct.
Well, thanks for being here, everyone. Look, we got it out on time.
Yay. Thank you. See you next week. Bye.